This new Reolink Argus 4 Pro has some absolutely amazing tech that I haven't seen this well executed in a battery camera. The 180-degree wraparound footage with color night vision is amazing. But I was let down in a couple key areas, which makes me wonder if it's actually going to become the ultimate backyard camera that I think it could be. I'm Eric Welander. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, we talk all about Apple and smart home tech. So if you're into either of those things, consider subscribing. And thanks to Reolink for sending me this camera and solar panel before the public release date with no strings attached. This video is not sponsored. Now, the dual cameras, which are becoming trendier in this industry, gave this 180-degree field of view for the camera. And it does so in a way that has, I think, a lot less distortion than maybe a single lens camera that does 180-degree field of view, like the Logitech Circle View camera in the HomeKit Secure video space. Now, the Reolink Argus 4 Pro also supports Wi-Fi 6, which is becoming more common and gives you that better signal strength, especially outside your home, provided you have Wi-Fi 6 base stations inside your home. And it records clips at a resolution of 5120 by 1440. And we'll talk a little bit more about the clip details and recording later. There's no subscription cost required for this camera. And Argus rates this resolution at 4K, which it's technically 8 megapixels, still much more detail than a 1080p image, but it's not the traditional aspect ratio of 4K. If it was, it would be 2,160 pixels tall instead of 1,440 pixels tall. But of course, you're getting all that extra resolution horizontally, not vertically. Now, the biggest thing that sets Argus 4 Pro apart, as I mentioned at the front of the video, is the ColorX night vision. If you've used photo or video cameras over the years or recent smartphones, you've probably been amazed how you can take an image in the dark of night and it still turns out pretty decent. And I think that Reolink's using a lot of those same ideas here. And that concept isn't that new, but it's just getting better and better. And this is the best version of that I've seen so far. So for recording those clips, you can record them on a micro SD card with the built-in slot. Now, the camera does not come with a micro SD card. You need to either already have one or purchase it separately. And it supports up to a 128 gig capacity micro SD card, which is plenty of storage space. I put a 64 gig card in there, and over about a month of recorded clips, I've used about 3 gigabytes. And as you fill up the card, the camera will delete the oldest clips on there. And you can also pay for Reolink's cloud video subscription if you want to store your clips there, which could be nice if, let's say, the physical camera gets stolen or your house burns down, you have that video off-site. The other advantage there is that you get images in the notification. So when Reolink detects a person or animal or whatever on the camera, it will not only just tell you that in words in the notification, but it'll also send an image alongside that. So if you're like me and haven't paid for the subscription, then you won't get those images in your notifications. Now, when you tap on the notification or any other way to open the app and then go in and look at the clips, there are 2 different resolutions you can choose from. There's one called Fluent, which is the default and lower resolution version of the clip. And this means you get the clip downloaded faster to your phone, especially let's say you're away from home looking at clips, but that's not going to be the full quality resolution of the camera. You need to change to the clear option, which might be a little bit slower to load, especially if you're not at home, but that's going to give you the full 4K-ish resolution that we talked about earlier. Now, recording these clips gets me to a downside, which is that because this is a battery-operated camera, it can't do continuous video recording, meaning it's recording video all the time. It just does clips of when it detects something with the on-device image processing. Now, it is only $20 more than the base price of the camera to get this camera with a solar panel from Reolink. And that then gives added capacity to the 5,000 milliamp hour built-in camera battery, because it can just use the sun to slowly charge the battery when the camera's not in active use. But that's the key thing here, is that inside of the app, you can set the schedule for when you get notifications as well as clip recordings of this camera. And you'll want to be sure that it's not recording clips in, let's say, times when there's probably more friendly activity around the camera. By default, it just records clips all the time. My children went out to play in the backyard, and after about an hour of continually recording these clips of detecting the people, my children on the back deck, the camera went to 0. So then it went offline and I needed to charge it with the included USB-C cable in order to get it back to 100%. And since then, I've adjusted the schedule to only record clips at night and during the early morning, and that's kept the battery at completely normal levels by then charging with the solar panel during the day. Now, when it comes to actually charging the camera's battery, you kind of have to use the included USB-C to USB-A cable because the USB-C port is buried deep in the camera's case, I think to try and help with some of the weather sealing, but it then makes it hard for a lot of USB-C cables to fit in that hole. And beyond that, I tried with some more slim USB-C cables I had and then plugging them in on the other side, USB-C to a more powerful power brick. Of course, I wasn't expecting it to fast charge, but it didn't even charge at all. I had to use a lower power USB-A power brick to then a USB-A to USB-C cable to get the camera to charge. Now, of course, Reolink does include the USB-C to USB-A cable in the box, and it's on you to have a power brick or some other way to give that USB-A port power. But I think one of the attractions of USB-C for me as a consumer is that, well, the company should provide the charging cable in the box. It doesn't have to be something I use or keep around. It's just that I could use any USB-C cable I happen to have to charge the camera. So this doesn't really add up with the benefit of USB-C for me. Of course, if your clip recording schedule is reasonable, the solar panel is going to take care of this for you, and you should probably never have to worry about this, if maybe rarely. But I would still keep the USB-A to USB-C cable around just in case. Now, the other downside, of course, if you're into Apple Home, it doesn't have any way to show the live view of the camera there. While I completely understand Reolink not supporting Apple's HomeKit Secure Video, I'd love to see them and other manufacturers start to follow in the steps of Ecobee and Arlo and offer a way that you can see the live view of the camera feed inside of the Apple Home app. Just for convenience, if you're already in that app for something else, then you could look at the live view of the camera there as well. One other thing I don't like about the app is when you open the camera, you don't really get an updated picture of the camera until it takes a second to actually connect to the camera. I've seen a lot of other cameras that give me at least a preview image that's relatively recent from the camera in the app right when I open it or very shortly after. So the length of time it takes to get from opening the app to actually seeing a live view of the camera in this case is a little bit longer than I would like to see. And the last one is just that the speaker on the camera isn't all that loud. So you can use the siren, which is a key feature a lot of cameras lack, is you can sound a siren if you see suspicious activity on the live view. And you can also talk through the speaker to the people you see on the camera. But all of that is relatively quiet.
Get off my lawn.
Another cool feature in the Reolink app that I didn't talk about earlier is the ability to do a time lapse with this camera. So you can actually have it record over an extended period of time, especially if you have this in, let's say, a place outside where you're pointed at some nice scenery or you have some interesting weather rolling through. You can get really cool looking time lapses. And this one I have on the screen is actually from George Langabeer's channel, where he also reviewed this camera recently. And he lives in an apartment building that has some great views of a big thunderstorm that rolled through his area. And I just love how that turned out. So in conclusion, I think one of the advantages that a lot of people tend to overlook when they're looking at cameras like this Argus 4 Pro from Reolink is that a camera company like Reolink has a lot of different cameras. Well, they have this one that's battery operated. They also have lots of power over Ethernet cameras. They also have lots of indoor and outdoor cameras and doorbells. So if you're looking for a company where you could buy one camera, and if you like it, you could buy a bunch more from them over time, and then you open one app to see all your cameras in your home, Reolink is one of those companies that can give you those options. And while they don't support Apple's Home app, which is my place I like to look at a lot of cameras, by making Apple's Home app a requirement, you're going to miss out potentially on a lot of cool new features that companies like Reolink are doing in this space. And you're probably not going to be getting the latest technology. But I think this Argus 4 Pro is a great option in a place where you want to cover surveillance of a wide area, maybe like a backyard, and a place where you're not going to be able to run Ethernet or continuous power to a camera. Especially paired with the solar panel, I think it could work well, provided your lifestyle has a set period of time where you can schedule when it records clips, so that the battery power usage and solar panel charging all balance out to the point where you don't have to worry about it. And if you're interested in this camera, there's a link down in the description below the like button. Also, if you hear about this continuous power and power over Ethernet kinds of options, I added a link here to that, as well as a link over to George Langebeer's channel I mentioned earlier, so you can check him out. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.